So I gave the kids this problem to start with, and the lead term is not the one in the front. I guarantee you I caught somebody. How come that one's the lead then? Because it's got the biggest power, the biggest degree. So that is the lead term. The lead coefficient is the number in the front of it. It's a 2. Don't put an X there. The lead coefficient is just the number 2. All right, next is degree. Well, everybody gets that right. It's just the power. I mean, you might have said 3 if you thought it was the front one, but it's that one, so it's 4. And then the ends, since it's positive, it's going up on the right. Since it's even, it's doing the same on the left side. For our medium problem here, to graph it, those two things tell me where it hits. And I can tell, these are easy ones. I can tell that -4 makes this part 0. So -4. And 5 makes that part 0, +5. And did anybody remember to go get the lead term on this thing? All right, if you didn't remember that, I know it doesn't say you have to, but I'm telling you, the kids who take a second and write, oh yeah, the lead term on this one has x and x squared, therefore it's x to the third, they're less likely to screw this up because they'll realize that it has to be going opposite directions on the ends. See, otherwise you might just think, oh, it just goes through this one and through that one, and it doesn't go through both of them. On this one, it bounces. I'm putting a little b there because it bounces right there. Okay, now, since it's positive in front, it must be going up on this end. And since it's odd degree, then it's going down on that end. Bouncy and through. Raise your hand if you got that one right. Awesome. Now, no, this won't be bonus points on the test, but on one of your problems, we're going to say, oh yeah, what's the exact y-intercept? Take a second, figure it out. You can use your iPad's calculator. On the test, you won't be able to use the iPad, but you'll be able to borrow a calculator. So figure out the exact y-intercept. To do that, you just have to remember a saying. The y-intercept is where x is 0, and the x-intercepts are where y is 0. How good is your short-term memory? What I just said is find the y-intercept. So, y-intercept is where what? X is 0. So then you put a 0 here and a 0 here, and you get 4 times -5 but squared. See, the 0 only knocks out this part. And so it's 4 times -5 squared. That's 25 times 4, which is 100. Raise your hand if you had 100 on that one. Okay, awesome. So that's some of the harder stuff. It's not everything. It's on the test, but there's a lot of things that we could test you. What if we just said, here's the graph. I know you can't tell me the exact lead term, but you could tell me something about the lead coefficient. I see a headphone in. Take it out, please. And you could tell me something about the degree of this polynomial. You don't even know for sure what the degree is, but you could tell me at least if it's even or odd. All right, for the lead coefficient, here's the key. See that's going down on the right? Then the lead coefficient must be negative. You don't know for sure what it is, but you know it's negative. It could be -17, it could be -20, we don't know, but it's negative for sure because it's going down. Does that make sense to you? I know it's going down, so it has to be negative for the lead. Then the degree. Well, since they're both going down, must be even. I need to know how many of you had both parts of that right. Awesome. Okay. Anything else you want to ask me about? Today's going to be one of those beautiful days where you have lots of time to ask questions, to work on the practice test. And your class is pretty quiet. Don't be scared. Now, I know some people are afraid that if you ask a question, everybody's going to be like, dang it, we could have just had work time. This, you asked a question. So I'm going to say it this way. We need to do a couple more practice together. So we're going to do a couple more practice. Either I'm going to make them up or you're going to ask me. And I'm fine with either one. So you're not going to be wasting anybody's time. I'm going to be doing a couple more practice. If you have a kind, so how about we do this? Take out last night's homework, which was it's called practice test. Okay, it's in the folder for yesterday, which would be February 19th. Find that homework, take it out. Is there anything in there that scares you? If there's anything in there that you don't know how to do, now would be a great time to ask. Anybody using an iPad? There we go. All right. You're looking at the homework that is due for tomorrow. I know that overall you guys seem to be feeling pretty good about this test. I mean, I can tell. Pretty good. But I can make up a few more questions or you can ask me. Is there any kind you want? Like number 6. All right, then I'm going to do some of the stuff that I would be scared of if I were taking this test. I just want to look at number 6. This is my punishment test. All right, let's try one of these. I make you a graph. And it goes through 7 and negative 10, but it's not really going through negative 10, it's bouncing off of it. You write me an equation that could be right. Don't worry about the y-intercept. I never labeled it, so we don't know what it is. Like, here's a great, terrible answer. 2x squared plus 3. No, it can't possibly be right. You know why? Because it's going down on the right. And that doesn't say going down on the right. That can't possibly be right. Another thing is the ends are going opposite directions, you know? And that means it can't be even. So write me a possible graph for this. An equation, sorry. Write me a possible equation for this. And there's a lot of answers that you could say that could be right. But it has to go through 7 and negative 10. And it has to bounce at negative 10. So actually, when you're done, look at your equation and go, okay, is my lead term possible? Like it's going down on the right. Does my lead term account for that? Do I have a parenthesis that gives me an answer of 7? Do I have another parenthesis that's going to give me my answer of negative 10? All right, I think I hit the hardest problem for you guys so far, so let's see how you do. Do you agree since it's going down, there has to be a negative somewhere? And I'm just going to put it in the front. Now, you could have put it inside a parenthesis if you wanted, but I'm putting it in the front. Then, do you agree it has to go through 7, which is like x minus 7? See what I mean? That would account for this 7 here. And then it's bouncing at a negative 10. So I go x plus 10, but bouncing means squared. I need to know, be honest, how many of you had that exactly right? Raise your hand if you did. All right, I knew this was a harder one. That was less than half the class. All right, so process this. If you had it wrong a second ago, it doesn't mean you're going to get it right the next time. Do you get how I got each part? Do you get why this -7 went with this 7 here? Do you get that I had to have a negative because it was going down here? That meant that, but it had to be squared. Because why? Why did it have to be squared? Because it bounced. All right, let's try one more like that. See if you can pull this off. This time it's going to bounce twice. Boing. Boing. At 6 and -5 is where it's bouncing. All right, so on this one, I have a negative. I just stick it in the very front if I were you. Because if you put in a parenthesis and by accident you square that parenthesis, then it wouldn't be a negative anymore. That's why it's safest to put the negative in front. Okay, and then there's one for this, which is the x plus 5. Remember, this -5 is always like opposite of that. Another way to say it is the -5 makes the equal 0 when you put it here. All right, so x plus 5, and then it's bouncing there, squared. And then the 6, x minus 6. I think I've got it. What I'd do just to be sure is I'd figure out my lead term. You know how obsessed I am with that? You should be too. Negative x to the third is the lead term. See, I can tell from that. Negative there means this is down. Odd degree means they're, wait a minute, something's wrong. I can tell I did something wrong. See, I checked myself by checking the lead term. And I was doing something wrong. Who sees it? What do you say?
The x minus 6 should be squared.
Yes, because it was bouncing there. And that was an honest mistake. I honestly just oopsed that it was bouncing there. And the way I caught it was the lead term, see? That's why I'm so obsessed with that. Because, see, the lead term should have been to the 4th because they're both going down. And I knew as soon as I saw that 3 there that something was wrong. It was actually the 4th. Okay, so lead term's really handy. All right, one more kind of question. This time instead of a picture, I'm just going to give you an equation. Now, at the very end of the hour, last day of instruction, yesterday, I told you that when they're even, they bounce, but when they're odd, they pass through. But there was a special one called the snake. Do you remember which of these is called the snake? Some of you do, I can tell. Some of you don't, I can tell. All right, so here's the things that I think everybody can answer. What are the x-intercepts? You should be able to tell me what the 3 x-intercepts are. like where it touches x. Don't overthink this. This part's easy. There's 3 places it hits the x-axis. And then that multiplicity, that's the thing where it's like bouncing and stuff. I'm having trouble spelling behavior. Behavior, I think. All right, so pay attention on this one because I get you're not sure what all these words mean, like multiplicity and behavior, so pay attention. I know you know that 3 is one of the x-intercepts. Did you remember, since it's an x-intercept, to write it as 3, 0? I bet some of you lost the point already right there. Because it's an x-intercept, it's a point. You should tell the point. And I'm not sure yet if I'll be able to give you credit. Actually, I think I can give you credit for just 3. But I'm not positive yet. We could have an email go around today that's like, yeah, everybody's agreeing to mark it wrong unless it's written as a point. Okay, so write it as a point. And then the other one would be, for this one, would be 4. And since it's an x-intercept, its y is 0. That's what you got to keep saying to yourself, is the x-intercept has y is 0. And this last one would be -10. Okay, now what's its multiplicity? It's just the number that it is. See, this one right here is to a power of 2, so the multiplicity is 2. This one here, multiplicity is 3. It's just what power it is. And then this last one here, there's no number there, so it's a 1. It's like there's a 1 here. Okay? And then I know you know which one bounces, so you should just say bounce for that one. That's the behavior. You know which one bounces. This one's bounce. But what do you say for the other ones? The triples, those are a snake. I want to remind you why. Because if I actually graphed y equals x to the third, it looks like this, which we math teachers have creatively said looks kind of like a snake. That's a snake. But it's just passing through. You're right, it's passing through, but in a squiggly way. But this kind just passes through. And we're pretty generous with, you can say pass through, you can say straight through, you can just say it goes through. I'm going to say pass through. It's the odd ones, those are called snakes. Sorry, not the odd ones, because 1 is odd also. Power of 3, those are called snakes. And I know when we first did this, I knew that we were going to talk about bounces, but I wasn't sure if we were going to make you know the word snake. They have upped the curriculum level for it. It used to be at honors, you'd have to know that, and then regular you wouldn't. But we've upped your level. You got to know that that's a snake, just like honors has to know that. Okay, so here's what they would look like in a picture. That's the 3 kinds of roots. This kind, that kind, that kind. One of them's really obvious. Another one's really obvious. And there's one that you're probably going like, I'm not sure what that kind is. Here's your word bank. One of them's a bounce. One of them's a pass through. One of them's a snake. The bounce was this one. Pretty clear. This one is a pass-through. That one was supposed to be a snake. I know it's hard to tell. I get it. But this one is just going straight through it. That's why some teachers call it a straight through. This one's got a little bit of curve to it. And the perfect drawing of it would be kind of like that, where it'll be even more curvy. That'd be a snake. All right, since I know more people got that wrong than anything else, I'm gonna give you one more equation that's like that. X minus 8. That one's gonna be nothing on there. X plus 5, that's gonna be a squared. And then x minus 11, that's gonna be to the third. What are the x-intercepts? What are the multiplicity? It's just a number. And what is the behavior? I've talked about all these things, but we've never put it all into one big grid like this, so glad we had a chance to talk about this. We would have done this yesterday if the test was today. Okay, Dice of Destiny. Joe, it's you. Can you tell me what the x-intercepts are? Oh, sorry, there's two Joes. Row 6, so yes.
X.
I know you're thinking, where do I put the 0?
Positive 8, comma 0.
You are correct.
Negative 5, comma 0.
Perfect.
Positive 11, comma 0.
Perfect. Okay. The multiplicity. It's just a number. Row 6 again. Keys, are you awake? Can you poke Keys? And you're not going to have to answer a question right now, but I'd like you to stay awake. Could you sub in and help me with what is multiplicity on these things? Like at the 8, what's the multiplicity?
1,
Good. All right. It is as easy as 1, 2, 3. You are correct. Okay. No, I'm not going to hit row 6 again. That's just too cruel. Somebody volunteer for this last one. Okay.
Pass through.
This is pass. Because why? Because it's degree 1 and they just pass through those. What's the next one?
Bounce.
This one's the bounce. And the last kind? Snake. All right. Now, you got a whole bunch of time. You've got a review practice test, which asks questions kind of like this, maybe in a different way. And if you have anything that you want to ask me about, this is the day. Tomorrow's the actual test. One last thought for those of you that are like, is it worth it to do my homework? It's practice for the test. This is the perfect time to do it, and it counts. If you get an A on this test, but you didn't do any homework in the unit, you're going to end up with a B. Maybe a B plus, but jeepers, why do that to yourself? Just do a little extra work. 2 minutes extra homework, and it'll be so much better. All right, that's all I got for you for today.